This is All India Radio. In the program Money Talk, now we bring you a discussion on India's journey towards a cashless society. The participants are Puneet Jain, economic analyst, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, AIR correspondent.
The concept of digital economy has been on the rise since 2015 by the Digital India campaign. The idea was to create a cashless transactions ecosystem in the country to achieve the goal for a transparent and accountable business activity by 2030. The Unified Payments Interface (UPI) and other electronic modes of payment have become hugely popular. All these efforts make India's road towards a cashless society from a thought to a possibility. Puneet, do tell us, for the benefit of our listeners, how important it is to have a cashless society. What are the benefits for this, both for the consumer and for the government as well, which has set up the infrastructure for this?
I think the benefits of a cashless society are beginning to manifest themselves now as we see India's economic growth really pick up despite challenges like pandemic, despite the fact that India is a vast country with huge rural population which did not have access to financial services at all. And in brief, I can say that the move towards cashless society has actually empowered millions and millions of people in villages, in semi-urban areas to access financial services. So banking, insurance, savings, shopping, everything. I mean, it's all enabled because we have a cashless society. And I think the journey towards this cashless society actually began in 2014 when the Prime Minister laid down his vision of integrating Jan Dhan accounts with Aadhaar and with mobile numbers. At that time, we could not really understand what he was saying. But today, when we see how this has, this goes across the entire spectrum of our living, right from direct benefit transfers to our spending habits to entertainment to savings, everything is now touched by the digital money. And therefore, I would say that cashless society is now the way forward for the economy.
Puneet, the average citizen has used the benefit of a cashless society by getting the direct benefit transfer and carrying out on-the-spot transaction, also getting a refund of taxes from the IT department. How do you see this evolving?
So, Arjun, you rightly touched upon 2-3 main pillars of this cashless system and the benefits from it. The 3 primary goals that the cashless economy or the digital economy provides is first is a financial inclusion, like we discussed earlier. Far-flung areas of India, today they can easily access bank accounts and they can access money. Earlier it was very difficult for us to take physical money to those areas and to those people, to the poor and the people who do not have the resources. So financial inclusion. Secondly, a major problem in India was tackling the shadow economy. We all know, we never talk about it in details for obvious reasons, but the truth is that India had a very large shadow economy. There's a cash economy, black money economy, and this was outside the ambit of taxation and governance completely, and which really drags down the entire economic growth process. So tackling the shadow economy was second major issue. And third, of course, was promoting the general growth in the economy through promoting digital shopping, through entertainment. So how do you make that happen unless you can make payments online? So today we know we can make shopping on our mobile phones, through our PCs, or through our television. And we can transfer money through mobile wallets or whatever. So there are certain objectives which have been fulfilled and huge benefits which have come to honest taxpayers also.
Puneet, just coming back to the transaction side of this business, especially the spot transactions, we have seen the growth of new age companies, especially fintech companies. How do you see that benefiting the economy, both in terms of the loan advanced and the interest payments that they charge?
So, Arjun, interestingly, the architects of this digital economy did a very interesting thing. They said that, the basic infrastructure for digital payments will be developed by the government of India because it needs huge investments and does not give you immediate returns. Because if initially you had levied very large charges on transactions, then this infrastructure would not have developed. So government said, we will do the basic infrastructure development through the National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, promoted by Government of India. So entire development expenditure was done by Government of India. But after that, for developing applications on it, so you look at all the mobile wallets, you look at all fintech companies, then they invited the private sector fintech startups, entrepreneurs to develop applications on this platform. So that is how the government did a very smart thing. They did not put the burden of development on entrepreneurs, on private sector. but they allowed private sector to become a partner in developing and applications through which these transactions were then promoted and spread across the country.
So now we have identities created as a result of payments disclosures, especially through the payments banks. How do you see the rural economy benefiting from this?
The biggest beneficiary of the digital payment system is rural India. And in fact, urban India is also gaining, but I think rural India, which was completely cut off from the financial system, that has become a integral part of the entire national economy, largely through the digital payment system. First, of course, we know is the most important thing, which is the DBT, the direct benefit transfers. And famously, it was said that almost 60 to 70% of the money which leaves government coffers and almost 60-70% would leak before it reached the ultimate beneficiary. Now, through the DBT, we know whether it is Ujjwala schemes, you give subsidies for buying gas cylinders or any other subsidies, Prime Minister Kisan Yojana, all this money goes directly into bank accounts of beneficiaries. So practically there is no leakage. So I think that is a huge benefit. Even when we look at programs like MG Narega and other programs, DBT is now the main method of disbursing government subsidies, government support, and I think that has really benefited people in the rural areas. Secondly, when we look at transferring funds from urban India to rural India, again, it was a lot of hassle earlier because cash transfers were very difficult. There would be leakage, there would be theft, it was not secure, and people in rural India could not keep their money safe. Digital, by promoting Jan Dhan accounts, linking them to Aadhaar, linking them to the mobile, I think that ability of rural India to save money, that has really gone up a lot. It's a huge benefit. You can't even imagine the kind of relief it gives to our people there. And thirdly, and very importantly, goods and services from rural India, they are now accessible to us through mobile applications, through online shopping portals, and we can make payments directly through them. See, earlier you could not do it. Even if there were goods and services, I could not make payments for it. If I had to give cash money, then again transferring money, taking it to villages was very difficult. So both ways. So money coming from urban India to rural India has increased a lot. Also goods and services from rural India to urban India, that has also increased a lot. I think that is all part of this digital ecosystem, and the main backbone is the cashless society or digital payments. The ease of doing those payments is important.
Puneet, what is a digital rupee and how is that different from the rupee that is electronically transmitted domestically?
Interestingly, the Reserve Bank of India has introduced what is called the Central Bank Digital Currency, CBDC. It is a digital form of the rupee. So no physical rupee will exist for this. It is just, you can say to some extent, the digital currencies that we have in the world right now, also called as cryptocurrencies. But those cryptocurrencies, of course, have no backing and they have no worth at all. Whereas the digital rupee has a similar worth as that of a normal rupee that we use. Now, the benefit of a digital currency is that when you move, let's say if you want to move rupee from India to USA, you can't do it. I mean, physically you have to take that currency, probably fly it to USA, and there's a physical limit to it. But in case of digital currencies, you can move digital currency across borders, across geographies without any problem in an instant second. So eventually, the true benefit of digital currencies is that they will transcend borders without any hurdle. So digital currencies are extremely important when you want to move currencies through large distances and in large quantum. And because there's a huge amount of safety in digital currency. Physical currency always has a threat of being stolen or being destroyed or being damaged. So digital currency, I think, will become extremely important when it comes to cross-border transactions and large amounts of transactions. But again, it's a very, very early days for digital currencies. It will take some time.
We're also seeing the government cashless procurement system under GEM. How is that improving the procuring standards of different departments and agencies of Government of India?
As you mentioned, whether GEMS or the ONDC, which we are introducing, which is an alternative platform for shopping, see, all these platforms which offer opportunities for exchange of goods and services. So you want to buy something. GEMS is basically a government platform where they buy goods on tender from small-scale manufacturers and government procurements. So how do you ultimately settle it? I mean, if I place an order on GEMS and I buy certain things, ultimately the payments have to be made through the digital mechanism. Earlier, you have very elaborate system of validating it, tenders being called, and very complicated, and it would lead to delays and corruption. Today, it is a very transparent system. You can bid your goods there. If they are the lowest, you can sell them, and you get the payment in your bank account. See, there is no or very little face-to-face interaction, which used to cause delays and corruption earlier. So, if you look at the online digital network that is being developed for small-scale manufacturers in India, which is something like online marketplace, which is being developed, or the GEMS network, all these are basically, they will be successful only if there's a seamless digital payment system available. If there's a cashless system available. If the government has to send a check to the seller, of course it will not work because, there'll be delays and it will not happen. If you really look at this measure, you will realize that, in fact, I was looking at data and I was surprised. In last 5-6 years, the number of digital transactions in India have grown a few hundred crore transactions a year. This year, probably we will have about 15,000 crore transactions, digital transactions in this year, which is basically 100 digital transactions per year. And almost the cumulative value is almost 10,000 rupees per person every year. This is huge. I mean, this is by far the largest payment system. And see, when we do this, the whole game is the value of transaction this year probably will be about 15 lakh crores. 15 lakh crores of settlements happening is amazing. And it happens 24 hours. You will be aware that now NEFT and RTGS have been made a round-the-clock system. So if you make a payment in the night, it will get settled in the night. It is not earlier the banks had to open at 10 o'clock and then RBI will do settlements. That doesn't happen now. It is a round-the-clock, 24-hour settlement happening. It is possible only because of the digital integration which has happened vis-a-vis delivery of shares and receipt of payments.
Well, from the stock market settlement system, what about the healthcare services? You have the e-Sanjeevani app, which is cashless and contactless.
What we realized, in fact, I think again the credit must go to those visionaries who laid down this entire infrastructure. Way back in 2014, when the Prime Minister was talking about JAM, basically Jan Dhan accounts, Aadhaar and mobile, did not realize that all digital interactions on the internet will ultimately need a back-end payment system. See, if there is no payment system, if I can't pay for your Zoom calls and you can't pay for your online subscriptions to journals and newspapers or anything else, then the digital economy will not take off. See, at the back end of every service that you use on the internet, you need to make some payment. Even to access your mobile phone, you need to make a payment. So clearly, if the digital infrastructure had not been developed, if this ability to pay online bills, for instance, you remember the days when we used to stand in line to pay electricity bills and telephone bills. We don't even realize when the bills are paid. They're automatically paid from your bank accounts. So all these things happened because 5-7 years back, there was somebody who could foresee that this is where the economy will grow and we need this back-end settlement system. Imagine if we did not have NPCI, if we did not have UPI, what would be happening? We would be dependent on foreign companies to provide the settlement system in India. Now, those companies don't do it for free. They will put a certain charge. And the moment, you remember, credit cards, when you use, the merchant has to pay a very hefty service charge to the credit card company. Now, if those kind of charges were levied, we would never have developed. People would not have been able to pay those charges. So it was Government of India's effort to set up NPCI and to set up our own payment gateway that has been able to develop digital economy in India.
Finally, Puneet, we have the Digital India campaign which started in 2015. How would you rate its development not only now, but in the years to come, especially with new technology creeping in?
I'm absolutely amazed by the strides India has made in this field. We are at the cutting edge of the technology because of the vision being laid out for this sector. We are implementing 5G, which will enable a lot more automation, lot more captive networks, and speed of transactions will happen. We already talk about 6G, and India has some 150 patents already for 6G technology in different applications. So this is a very fast developing, fast moving area of technology. Fortunately, India has this blueprint to follow. I think we really need it. I think India is one country which badly needed to grow through these means. There was no way we could have physically grown into these areas of development. And I think much of the credit for the growth that we are seeing in Indian economy today is largely attributable to digital payment system and the cashless system that we have.
Well, thank you so much, Puneet, for being with us on this program.
Thank you, Ranjan.
You were listening to a discussion, India's Journey Towards a Cashless Society. The participants were Puneet Jain, Economic Analyst, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.